Hey everybody, Shannon Scott coming to you live from the Salem Cemetery of the 1850s in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And right away we see inside of this plush garden landscape, grand magnolia tree, kind of a Mother Mary figure up there, hard to see in the late day, but the name Gilmer here, which makes me think of Louisa Porter and some of the other Gilmers in Savannah. But we're high atop the Moravian Cemetery down there in the distance, which is 1770s, very uniform headstones, and near a great little historic village of Salem, which reminds one a lot of Williamsburg, but less touristy or somehow, although, you know, no knock to Williamsburg. But it's definitely a throwback to an older vibe and age, and I absolutely love it. But that's Salem kind of sitting over there in the steeple of the Moravian Church, I believe. Also, one of the colleges, I can't remember if that's Berry College or what exactly. But anyway, what's neat is you can kind of check out a little coffee house over there in an old Victorian building called Lot 63, and the founders of that coffee business actually buried up here in the current cemetery I'm in, Salem. Along the path, I caught sight of this child's headstone wrapped up in the roots of this beautiful tree with the bluish lichens growing, and then the footstone at the same time. Little drinking pool there for the birds, perhaps. But as you may have heard in another video of mine, John Wesley arrived out of really Pennsylvania with the Moravians down in Savannah, Georgia, 1735, and I think he took a liking to their religious leans, and one point I think struggled with wanting to, I don't want to say convert, but he loved the fact that the Moravians seemed very unafraid of death, and he liked the laid backness of that, which, you know, no doubt about it, influenced the eventual Methodist Church that was born out of that. But the Moravians just couldn't find a peaceful, harmonious relationship with the Lutherans. It's like two types of Catholics with some differing views and probably a lot of the same skill set in terms of, you know, farming and stone cutting and whatever, but I guess the internal competition conflicts became too much, and so the Moravians headed up to Pennsylvania, home base, hung out with, I think, Reverend George Whitfield, who founded the Bethesda Orphanage with Franklin and some others in Savannah. But eventually some of them came back to Savannah and around 1804. But the Moravians have one congregation in Georgia now in Stone Mountain, and I think Winston-Salem is the largest community of them in the U.S. I think there's 750,000 Moravians nationwide. Anyway, don't quote me, I'm not an expert, but, you know, find the Savannah connection here interesting. So, I grew up in a family that used to do tobacco. My father in Kentucky as a child, young man, worked the tobacco fields. Not his favorite. He talked about how sticky and gnarly it was, and, you know, he smoked for a while, and then, to his credit, he gave it up when I came into my mom and dad's life. But I've always had a healthy respect for people that come from old world tobacco, and R.J. Reynolds and his family, the Empire clan, all really buried here in this plush plot. You know, really in the shadow of the city that they built up, and he became the wealthiest man in North Carolina at one point. But he was born in Virginia in the 1750s, not surprising, into a tobacco family, and ultimately I think he bought his father's business out in 1874, started an expedition to a greater business of his own. But the problem for him was no railroad, or not the kind of railroad he hoped for. And, and so North Carolina became where he set his sights. And I want to say, he's down here doing his thing strongly by 1880, 84, 1890. One of the innovations that he added to run some actual competition to the competition was adding saccharin for a sweetness in the chewing tobacco, which I didn't even realize was an additive, that long ago. But in general, I would say one to avoid. But it gave him an edge, and the empire begins to grow. And R.J. Reynolds, who knew the value of things clearly, and really all aspects of life, he's such a classic, hardworking American guy or something. But his greatest innovation was the packaged cigarette. Now, bear in mind, this is all pre-hardcore carcinogen. He dies really 1918. So he's kind of still there in the normal tobacco world, I guess. But he realized that everybody rolled their own cigarettes. So how could he really compete with that? And partly the way he did it was he imported Turkish tobacco, and he started the Camel brand in 1913. I don't know if he was growing a seed or a leaf of that in the Carolinas or just directly importing it, or both. Again, I'm not the expert on the guy's life, but this is what I've sort of learned in the short term. But ladies and gentlemen, apparently being able to undersell the competition with kind of an exotic flavor notion just did it. So within 1 year, 1914, he sold 425 million packs of cigarettes and became, in the end, the wealthiest man in North Carolina. He opened up the first black hospital in the South. When he married his wife, apparently extremely, he was living above the factory floor for years, by the way. So this guy was like in the bachelor mode of bachelor modes, and the zines or the newspapers of the time touted him really as the most eligible bachelor of North Carolina. But it was going to take the right woman to pluck him out of his mode, and apparently he met that woman. I don't want to misquote this. Was it Mary? Because he died in 1918, and we have Catherine Johnston here, Catherine Smith Johnston. So she died in 1924. That fits the time frame, so 6 years after him. So he married a woman really 30 years his junior, and they had children late in life, but she became a secretary at R.J. Reynolds, which is interesting, and I can't remember, he famously said that he hired her to get his money back from her or something like that. I don't know. It was kind of funny. But she encouraged RJ to invest more in the workers, to shorten their hours, better conditions, better housing, just better overall, payback for the work that they were investing into his world. And that seems to be a part of the legacy. But in the end, he's a father late in life. She's a mother a little later in life, and they both died young, or died 6 years apart. So she's 1880, so she's dying just shy of 50, so that's young. And he is, at that point in his life, he's 68. So, 68. So he's not terribly old either, but they die young. We'll just put that in quotes. And it would be his brother that takes over not only the company, younger brother, but then the role of parent. So a little bit of a sadness there for everything, but I think they enjoyed, their children's lives for a period. But anyway, just fascinating history, a great cemetery, the Salem Cemetery of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Definitely take a stroll. The Moravian God's Acre Cemetery below the hills of Salem is open till 8 p.m. Great for strolling out of the historic village. Again, check out Lot 63, the coffee house in Salem. It's dandy of a place, really comfortable and friendly. Quiet too, so that's kind of nice. And you can walk over here. They don't allow electric vehicles or pets in the cemetery, so just kind of keep that in mind. Salem Cemetery closes at 4:30, putting that in quotes. They really just want the right element here. They don't want badly behaving people. So I think, if you're minding your P's and Q's, that, that's all they ask, and you can, walk up the hill from the Moravian God's Acre Cemetery. But yeah, treat yourself. As far as cemeteries in the South goes, this is a dandy, just the way it's all laid out, and beautiful ironwork as always, and some great stonework. Not overall ostentatious, just some tasteful monuments. We see like the Tree of Life here in duality, the kind of the husband-wife monument, which you love how the branches are kind of interacting. So yeah, you get this kind of stuff visually. This is what we kind of call the free stuff in life, the free joys in life. So, take advantage as you can, but really just worth the trip. So hope you'll come see it. Well, gang, thanks for tuning in. Hope it was worthwhile, and we'll be back to story you soon. Your storyist here signing out.